Hey everybody, it's New Year. Sometimes that brings new resolutions, new habits you want to start this year. One thing that I like to do every year is look at the books that I'm reading. And as I was looking through the books that I want to read this year, and start off with anyway, um, I started looking through the books that are just my absolute favorite books. So I thought I would share them with you. These are books that are related to art and creativity, but not necessarily all practical. So I think some of the books will be not a big surprise. And some of them I think you may never have even heard of these books. So I wanted to bring them to your attention just because I like them and you might as well. So I'm going to start off kind of from an inspirational perspective. It's not very practical, but this book I found years ago to show you how many years. There's a Borders bookstore price tag on it. And if you're not from the US, that chain went out of business. I don't even know how long ago, maybe 10 years, maybe more. It's called The Principles of Uncertainty by Myra Kalman. And it is just this lovely, lovely book. There's this cool stick bug on the binding. And it's a beautiful book. The story is beautiful. The pages are beautiful. And I just sat down and read it cover to cover the first day I got it. And I think I cried. I think it was happy tears. It was just the most lovely story. And then I gave it to my mom to read. And I said, I don't know if you're going to like it. I loved it. I thought it was amazing and beautiful and lovely. And she had the exact same response. So every single page is art. So this is embroidery. I mean, these are all paintings. So literally every page is a painting or some sort of art. And it's all handwritten. And it's just lovely. I can't explain exactly why it's so lovely. It just, oh, here's a old glasses cloth. Where's my bookmark? It's just absolutely lovely. So if you're interested in a book that's just meant to be enjoyed, I highly recommend this one. All right, the next book is by Sabrina Ward Harrison, and she's an American artist. She is wonderful. I actually got to take a workshop with her 9 years ago at this point, almost 10 years ago. And this was published a long time ago, probably another 10 years before that. Not sure what the year is. Oh, look at that. I forgot that she actually signed my book. So she wrote this to me. Love Sabrina. She basically published her journals. So this is like a giant art journal that she published. And it's all handwritten, hand painted. These are all paintings. It's very mixed media, tons of collage. She mixes photographs. It's just beautiful. So it's called Spilling Open, The Art of Becoming Yourself. And these are all her existential questions that she asked herself. It's kind of a coming of age art journal. Very vulnerable, very personal to her, but also it extends out. I mean, I related to it a ton. There was one page I distinctly remember on my commute to work reading it, and it said, "When did you first start doubting yourself?" And I was like, oh my gosh, I had never thought of that question. And I could pinpoint the day, right? It was like the day my dad left our family. And that was just like, holy smokes, I didn't realize there was a day. I didn't realize how like my identity was so up for grabs at that point. Because everything I knew to be true up until then wasn't. Anyway, it's just this gorgeous book, and there's so much to look at. Every time I look at it, I see something new. And it's just wonderful. And I find it very inspiring. Not to be her or do exactly what she does, but just encouragement to be yourself, I guess, is why I like this book so much. All right, this book, probably not a surprise, but The Artist's Way is still a huge, major book that I credit with a lot of my attitude and philosophy. Not a whole lot to see in this book in terms of pictures, but this is a book that's all about unblocking yourself. So if you're feeling stuck creatively, and it's a really gentle book. I did get scared off by the title, or maybe by like the cover page for a couple years. I think I bought it and then put it on a shelf for 2 years before I even read it. It looks very, I don't know what it looks. It looks very like new agey or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just that it's brown and I don't really like brown. But it's beautiful. It is the most gentle, self-affirming book. It's so encouraging. It's so builds you up and reminds you that you don't owe anybody an explanation. You get to decide if you're an artist or not, and you get to decide what that means for you. You get to decide everything, right? It's your life. But it talks about being kind to your younger self and really just cherishing that part of you. So cannot recommend this enough. And of course, morning pages come from this. You've probably heard of those, and artist dates. I cannot recommend this book enough. Okay, the next book is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Also probably not a huge surprise, so I won't talk about it a ton. It's been very popular lately. I do most of my books via audiobook, but I had to buy this one too so that I could look at it and note pages. This one is another encouraging book. It talks just a lot about, as an artist, right, just to show up and be yourself and not to worry about what everyone else is doing, not to be afraid of what happens if you're not good enough, just to start working and to keep working. She has some really cool ideas about, ideas, and she has kind of a metaphor about if you don't, grasp an idea that comes to you, it'll just go to someone else, which is kind of a neat way of thinking about it. So so I can take that two ways, I guess. One is if you have an idea that you don't act on, it's not going to stay around you forever. So you'll probably lose the oomph behind what you initially felt. But also, it's not a huge deal because someone else will probably take that idea and do it in their way. It's a really easy read. It's a nice book, and it will, I think, encourage you a lot creatively. All right, this book, not directly creative, but huge book for me. This is probably the best book I've read in the past 2 years. It's called Try Softer by Andy Kolber. And it is, you've heard of try harder, right? To push yourself more and more and more and more. This is the opposite. This is try softer. And what she means by that is just to be gentle with yourself. So if you're not getting something, or you're not where you want to be in life, or you're having a hard time with something, instead of just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing against a wall, just stop. Take care of yourself. See what you're missing. See what you need. She talks about, big T and little t trauma. Big T trauma is like if you went through a horrific event in life or were abused or anything like that. And little t trauma is we all have some kind of trauma. All of us. So little t trauma could just be, you don't like your job and you have to show up every day. I've done that I did that for a long time. And that has its own type of trauma, right? It has its own impact on you from a mental health perspective, from an anxiety perspective, stress, etc. She just has tons and tons and tons of great stuff in here. I'm trying to see if I have anything in particular to read. Just, it's about like changing the language that you tell yourself. Don't tell yourself you're weak. Don't tell yourself you're not doing it right. Tell yourself that you need extra care and move on. It sounds, I didn't read it for a long time because of the title, Try Softer. I thought it was going to be a very superficial, like, everything's great, everything's fine, don't worry. And it's not that book. It's not that at all. I don't know I'm doing a great job with my words describing it, but if you're having trouble with your mental health, if you're having trouble with your confidence, if you're having trouble and just need encouragement, I cannot recommend this book enough. Even more than The Artist's Way, quite frankly. It is from a Christian perspective, so keep that in mind. But I think if you're not a Christian, it will be still a huge help to you. I don't think it's not only for Christian people, but she does mention God in here and a higher power. So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm getting more practical now. This book is called Playing Big by Tara Moore. And this is a, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. What do you want? Stop wasting time. Take a big step toward it now. No more excuses. Figure it out. Let's do it. And it really helped me. I'm a person who likes to think of some great things and then sit on it for a year or two because I'm afraid of actually doing the thing. So I just think about the thing and how to do the thing and do some research about the thing. But when it comes to actually doing the thing, that feels really scary. So I just keep researching more. Maybe some of you can relate. So this is actually the main reason I was reading this book, 2 or 3 years ago at this point. And I thought of the idea of doing some process art online workshops. And then I sat on it because it felt scary. Because I didn't think anyone would be interested. I didn't know if anyone would want to do it. And I knew I was supposed to do it. It kept coming to my mind. It never went away. So I finally did it this year. So that still counts, right? But if you have a project you want to do and you're not sure how to do it and you're not doing it for whatever reason, highly, highly, highly recommend this book. She does kind of aim toward women because women, I think, more than men, are encouraged to look after everyone else and not so much encouraged to look after ourselves and our own best interests. But I think this would be just as good for men too, if you're interested in something that you're not doing, to figure out why and to go after it. All right, my second to last book is called Brag Better. I'm not good with self-promotion. I'm not good at saying, hey, look at me, do this thing, buy my stuff. It doesn't come naturally to me. It just doesn't. This book, and again, brag, like the word makes me cringe. But this is just all about mastering self-promotion. And basically what this book reminded me of is it's not bragging if you're just stating facts. So if I say I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, it's not bragging. That's just me telling you what I did, right? If I tell you I painted 18 paintings last year, that's not me bragging. That's me telling you what I did. So in writing a personal bio or anything like that, I'm just telling you what I did. And that shift helped me a great deal. maybe it sounds silly to most of you, but it also talks about if you're in a corporate job, if you're in a job where you're working for other people, it helps you keep track of the accomplishments you've made and to note the accomplishments you've made so that you can talk to your boss about a raise or a different position or anything like that. So one of the exercises she has you do is to write out everything you've accomplished in the last year or two. And I wrote out so many things that I totally had forgotten that I did. And I had never seen all of the things I did in one list before. And all of a sudden I was like, hey, look at what I did. I did a lot of things. Great job, me. So that was nice. All right, and the last favorites book I have on my list is Abstract Painting, The Elements of Visual Language by Jane Davies. Jane Davies you've probably heard her name. She has tons of YouTube videos. I've loved watching her for years. And this book is extremely practical. She talks through all the different elements of abstract art. So color, hue, tone, collage, composition, pattern, weight, line, shape, everything you'd need to know. She talks about contrast and what makes things interesting to look at. Highly recommend this book if you are interested in abstract art, don't mind my Band-Aid bookmark. How to look at your own work critically and see what else you might need. This is Jane. She just makes tons of really colorful, fun collages. It wouldn't be a New Year's video if I didn't tell you what I'm planning to read next, right? The next book I'm going to read is The Artist's Journey on Making Art and Being an Artist. I've heard great things about this book. Don't know a ton about it, but it's supposed to be great, so I will keep you posted on that. The other book I'm going to look through more is this book on David Mencken. So, Remembering in Paint. David Mencken is an abstract artist in the UK and just makes these beautiful, beautiful abstract landscapes. And I'm really interested in his work in particular because he often will zoom in. So he doesn't do something that's very obviously a landscape. He might focus on a particular, this might be a wave, I don't know. But he focuses on different, very specific parts. And he also uses a lot of found objects that he finds walking along the beach in his art. These are some of his found objects. So it's a big book. I've loved kind of flipping through it, but I haven't actually read it yet. So that's definitely on my list to find out more about what inspires him. And this last book is actually out of print, so it might be a tease, sorry. A Practical Guide to Freeing the Artist Within Expressive Drawing. The Artist Within Expressive Drawing. And this book is actually out of print, so I apologize if I'm teasing you. You can still get it. I bought this last year. Cost me a fortune. Cost me like $60. And it's by Stephen Amoni. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Sorry, Stephen. Expressive Drawing, A Practical Guide to Freeing the Artist Within. And one of my goals is to free up some of my brushwork and mark making. So he has different workshop activities and exercises to do, to play with line, to play with form, lots of research and cross-referencing between different artists. I'm most interested in the workshops that he does. Apparently he's known for his workshops, and this is as close as I can get to one right now. So just doing these activities I think will be wonderful. I checked it out of the library once and didn't have time to go through it. decided I needed it, lowercase n on that need, and eventually tracked it down on Amazon and bought it used, but it still cost me a fortune. Relative fortune, but it's a lot to spend on a book. All right, so that is what I'm going to be reading this year. What have I missed? What books do you go back to again and again and again and again and again? What books do you enjoy reading? What books have made your lives better? What books have made your art better? Your art practice better? I would love to know.